Hi, my name is Agnes.
Hi, my name is David.
And this is At the Root. At the Root, we're about giving leaders, especially introvert leaders, a voice to their story.
We are also here to share the stories of the individuals, the community organizations, and individuals that allows them to tell us their origin story, where it all started, and hence At the Root. Agnes, excited to do another episode. Today we have a guest that is a little bit different because I think, you and I aren't really in the automotive space much. But we both need our cars to get to everywhere we go. But let me ask you this, where do you typically go to get your car fixed, your tire changed? Do you go to a dealership? Do you go to a mechanic shop? Where do you go?
I have a trusted mechanic.
Oh, yeah? And how long have you been going to them? Because I find it's hard to find a good mechanic. I find, I've been to a couple different ones. I had my own car since I was 18, and fixing it was tough. I tried. It's not for me. I'm not very handy. But finding a good mechanic took a little bit of time. So how did you find yours?
Referral.
Okay.
But it's also one of those mechanic that service only one type of car, and pretty much everyone goes to the same mechanic if you have that type of car.
Oh, interesting. I'm curious. Now I need to know what kind of car you have. For me, I've gone to a mechanic because same thing, referral, as a good friend kind of said, and I have not left this guy in 20 years.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I live on the west end. I go to Scarborough to see him. It's
Yeah.
like a loyalty thing, and I find that's so hard to find a really good one. So I'm really excited about our guest and what she's going to tell us about that space, how to create not only a brand and everything, but a mechanic shop that you can trust.
I find it very odd because you talk about this mechanic shop, but did I hear that you just said she?
Yeah, I did. Can you guess who it is?
No, no. Give me more.
You know what? I think she's staple in Markham. She's built this, and she also teaches. She's done a lot, but she also kind of shares different perspectives on what that space could look like. And I think I'm personally excited to hear those perspectives because, to your point, we don't see a lot of women in that space, but it doesn't mean it's different. And I think there's going to be a lot of unique perspectives we're going to get. So can you guess now a little bit more? Teaches.
Hang on. She actually works on the car?
Yeah.
No, give me some
She
more.
can tell you more than I can for sure.
I know nothing.
You know what? Well, let's bring the guest on because I think she's going to be able to tell us a little bit more than better than I can. I'm running out of car knowledge. For those who know me, I am not a car. I wish I was. And I have many friends who are. But we're really excited to have Emily on the show. Thanks so much, Emily, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Em.
So, Emily, we kind of went on a little rant, but tell us a little bit about yourself, Auto Niche, what that is, what it stood for, and the recent celebration, if I can even say that, of what happened with Auto Niche and everything you've created so far.
So Auto Niche is an auto repair shop in Markham. I started the brand over 16 years ago, and I had a decision to make, if I was going to purchase a franchise or if I was going to start my own, and I really felt like for what I wanted to accomplish with it, I decided to create something. And then I took it through the startup phase, and then I think about year 8 is when I then moved location, honestly just moved down the street but doubled in size. And so for those of you who have been in business, it's a whole different cycle, right? Now I've got double the overhead, double the space, double everything, and so it's almost like you're trying to put that lift in again. And then after 16 years in business, I then sold it, and so that was deal closed, money in the bank, January of last year, 2025. So it's been quite the journey to see it through that.
And tell us a little bit, because I feel like you were just saying the decision to go away from franchise and build your own. What did it mean to build your own, and why was that so important to have it kind of done the way that you envision it, versus have a franchise kind of tell you what they want you to do and the things that you would have to do?
For me, the decision was more about the control that I would have over the business. The franchises are good, and I work with a lot of them now. And they have their own vision and their own purpose and their own way, right, of doing things. And I didn't think I was going to be best suited for somebody else's, recipe.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely had my highs and lows of doing it on my own, but I think it was that autonomy, that ability to choose what I wanted for the business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And knowing that, you knowing yourself best, right? You know whether you have a franchisee personality or not.
Exactly.
And that's mature.
Yeah, it requires different skill sets, right, and different awareness too. So, yeah, so that's the decision I made.
So I guess what I wouldn't say being a mechanic is a typical everyday kid growing up type of job. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was for you. Maybe you were in the driveway like, I love fixing cars.
No.
So where did you wanting to become a mechanic, not even owning the shop, but wanting to become a mechanic, when did that start? How did that start?
So, actually, before I started the repair shop, I went to high school in Toronto, right? And my father was an entrepreneur as well. He's actually in the automotive business, but I'll get to that in a second. And so I grew up seeing him live the life of an entrepreneur, and I remember saying to myself, like, I don't want that, right? Long hours, wasn't home. He worked a ton and all the stuff, and I was like, no, I don't want that. So I graduated high school, went to the University of Waterloo, did my psychology and business degree, became a psychometrist, was in HR, right? Just doing corporate stuff, and then around that time is when I became Christian, and I really felt like God was calling me to, let me think back again. After HR, I then moved to my father's business. So I then became a project manager for him, that's right. And then during mat leave, so I have two boys, they're much older now, but during maternity leave, I decided that I was gonna go to Centennial College for a pre-apprenticeship program and learn how to fix cars. I had a lot of questions about cars too, and I just figured, you know what, I will do that, and hopefully that'll help me with my father's business. And then around that time is when I became Christian, and I really felt like God was calling me to open up a repair shop. So in one conversation, I was on mat leave, right? So in one conversation, I go to see my dad, and I was like, okay, Dad, like, I'm not coming back to work for you. I'm gonna go open up a repair shop. I'm gonna learn how to fix cars. And by the way, my cousin was working for him at the time. She's gonna come be my service advisor, so you need to hire for 2 people. And my dad is a great poker face. And all I remember him saying was, okay, and that was it. And I remember just walking out of the office, closing the door, and I was like, okay. So that's what started Auto Niche. When I tell people that my father had an automotive business, just so you know, your viewers can know too, when you go in Canada, when you take your car in for service, you either fall into the dealership stream, so back to the OEMs, or you fall into everything else, which is the aftermarket. So that's the side, that's where I was. So he has a business where he supplies to the people that I would have bought from. And it was really nice. Once I opened my shop, I could actually become customers of his customers. So that was a nice sort of like payback of, you know, the commitment, the loyalty that they had to my father as well. But what I tell people is, like, at his part of the chain, like, I knew the product, I knew the brake parts, right? But I didn't know, like, I mean, he could have been selling this, right? Like the water bottle. I mean, I knew how to make it, I knew how to ship it, I knew how to price it, market it, but I didn't know, like, the technical aspect of it. So that's why I went to trade school to learn a little bit more about that. So for me, that's sort of the journey of how I felt called to and followed the calling, and then, you know, started that. So I opened the business, made the decision to have my own brand, built the business, and then went back to trade school. Eventually got my ticket, worked on cars, and then at some point I decided, you know what, I can't replace myself as the business owner. So I need to come off as, you know, from the shop floor as a technician, and actually just focus on building the business. So that was another decision I had to make as an entrepreneur of, okay, I'm now going to work on the business, right? And start hiring people to fill some of the other positions and grow it that way.
And at what point did you decide that you could no longer work in the business and you work on the business? Because I think for a lot of founders and business people, that's a really tough decision to go from being in the business where it's your baby, you're growing, you're working so hands-on, to now you're working on the business to scale and grow it.
It's not an easy decision because some people love, like, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, right? They start the business because that's what they love to do. Yes. But it's a very different mindset to build the business on what you do. So, but for me, I got to the point where I could not keep up the pace anymore of being everything, right? And so I had to make the decision. Again, back to the question of, could I replace myself as a business owner? No, right? So I then must have to make the decision to replace myself on the technician side, on the service advisor side, you know?
And how many years into your journey did you come up with that?
This was probably year 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right before the big move then.
Yes.
You said year 7, 8 was when you had to double the shop.
Yes, yeah. So it was probably year 6 that I decided I needed to do that. And it's not when I say it now, it seems like it's just, another statistical fact. It's not an easy decision to make. And when you bring on more people as employees, you have more responsibility, right? More commitment. And it's something that I think, unless you are an employer, you don't really
Understand.
Yeah, you don't have that same, I don't know, sense, right?
I had a client where, he owns a manufacturing shop and older. So we were doing a walk around perimeter of his shop. And one of the things that he partaked for me is, he says, Agnes, I have 108 employees. I feed 108 families.
Yes.
Every decision matters
Yes.
because it affects 108 families. And then I start to understand the weight an entrepreneur carries, because it's not just about profit. Like, because I was kind of hammering him about pay grades and, pay and, well, and then when I see it in that light, I'm like, okay, I understand that every decision makes a difference for 108 families. And I'm like, okay, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's different. It's a different type of stress that I don't think people recognizes that entrepreneurs thinks about. Well, just give me another, $2,000 or give me $1 an hour, or what is it to you anyway?
Yeah.
Well, it matters because there's all these other people that we have to think about.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also from the strategic choice, right? So if I decide I want to pursue this product or service, or I want to market here, or I want to do this, those have long-term potentially, consequences or rewards, right? For not just myself, also the people that I employ.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to move forward a little bit because you just said, congratulations on selling the business. That's huge. Tell us a little bit of that. Like, where did the exit, I guess first part of the question, I feel like I'm going to have multi-parts here. First part is, did you ever think you were going to sell the business? Or was it one of those you're like, no, I never thought. Like, where did that opportunity come up from?
100% I knew I was going to sell. In fact, I started the business with the selling in mind, which I think is, again, back to the whole mindset thing. Whether I sold in the first 10 years, 20, 40, 50, whatever years, even if I sold it to my own kids, the fact that I knew I was in business because one day I was going to sell it, I think helped me make different decisions, and it helped remind me of what the decisions should be. What's really important to me, what is actually going to make this place, buy like a sellable. And like I said, even if I sold it to my kids, right?
Yeah.
So there was that. And for me, like as a business person, I don't know, me personally, okay, I don't know why else I would have gone into business other than to sell it, even if I chose to sell it for $1, right? And so it's that mindset of, okay, if I know the end in mind, how I get there, then I have a better sort of guide of what's going to happen next. So I had always thought that I was going to sell it at one point. Now, I didn't realize it was going to be so soon. I'm thinking I'm going to sell this when I'm like...
Ready to retire.
Yeah, done, whatever, right, pack it in kind of thing. And I really felt like... So it was July 2023 is when I felt like God was calling me to sell. And, for any of your viewers who are Christian too, like, I feel like they can relate. I was very much like, I think I heard wrong. I don't think so. This can't be right. So I probably spent a good month of just like, are you sure? Like just talking and praying and just like, And then finally I had peace about August, September. What I decided to do next is different than I think what a lot of businesses do, which was I gathered my staff around and I told them, I said, listen, I really feel like God is calling me to sell. I'm going to be putting this place, on the market. It's not going to sell next week. Yeah. It may not be for another 3 months, 6 months, a year. Like, I don't know when. I said, I just want to honor the time that my staff spent with me and let them know. And, if they had any questions, they could ask me. I said, if a lot of times people don't do this because they're afraid that the staff is going to leave, right? It's going to cause some sort of panic. Sure. And I just told the staff, you know what, at the end of the day, the reality is that I'm not promised another day with them. Every day they choose to wake up and they choose to come into work with me. And if this is the news that gets them to go to another place, they may as well stay here and try the new employer. At least here, they know our customers, they know our processes, they know each other. So I'm like, if you're going to try a new place anyway, you may as well just stay. So they ended up staying. So I didn't actually list the business until after I had the conversation with them. And the thing is that, and I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. This is the way for me. The interesting thing is that as we get closer to the sale, I can no longer discuss certain things, right? Because now we're like in a NDA and things are just more confidential to the end and that kind of thing. So honestly, it took about a year and a half actually to close the sale, to find a buyer and close the sale and do all the steps. And as it got closer, finally came the time for me to let them know that the sale is happening. And at that point, we maybe only had like 1 week of notice, 2 weeks notice, really, very short time frame. And by that point, all the staff stayed with me. And by that time, when I actually gave them that news, they were like so happy for me. It was just so amazing. And I'm thinking, man, if I couldn't imagine giving them the news that, oh, in 2 weeks' time you have a new boss. That would not have gone over well for my business and for me. So it was just a different decision that I took. So it worked out.
I think you also gave them a choice by telling them early, right? Like to your point, you don't have to tell them. But if they were to find out 2 weeks before they had a new boss, I don't think they would feel like they had a choice to stay and they had a choice to kind of continue. But you gave them a choice by giving them realistically like a year and a half of advance. Someone's be like, hey, they could look, they could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But that choice, I think, is empowering to a lot of employees to know that you have someone who's looking out for you, and you can make a choice that's right for your family, for things that you want to do.
But I find that choice very interesting because of your background too, because you're an HR professional before. So you must know the best practice in this area. And if I'm thinking about business valuation, a part of your business valuation comes from your skilled technician, right?
Yeah.
So to let them know ahead of time, is that technically a HR best practice?
I think standard practice is no, because to your point, if I sell a business, it's more valuable if I sell it with the staff, right? Everybody's in place, the processes are in place. So you're buying the whole chunk, right? And if I tell you ahead of time and I risk the flight or the change in the staff, that, to your point, puts the sale at risk. So for me, again, it was very much, I wanted to honor like the staff's time with me and the relationship I had. And I think it speaks to the relationship that I had with the staff, right? But to your point, I don't think that is traditionally
so
the way to go, because you don't want them to.
No, but it speaks volume about your leadership and the way that you treat your staff and how, like we have other episodes where we talked about the way that you treat others is how others choose to reciprocate. And that speaks volume in terms of the culture you bring and create within your organization and how ultimately that actually makes for a stronger company because of the way that you treat them.
That's the hope. Yeah. That was the hope. I really do think too that, again, like I said, you know what, just knowing that I'm not promised another day, right? And so how I treat them, how I lead them, and all that, to me, it matters. Every day matters,
Cool.
And I'm gonna ask this question: how did you celebrate? Yeah, some celebration is a big milestone. How did you celebrate?
That's so funny. So after 16 years of this business, I then so I'm naturally inherently a very introverted person, and like I love my own time, my own space, right? So I ended up on the bucket list I had was to take a solo cruise. So I did that. So I took a 12-night solo cruise, and it was fantastic. Talked to nobody. Didn't have to get up for anybody. Didn't have to eat nothing that nobody else would like. It's just, I was on my own schedule, and it was fantastic. Yeah.
I love it.
You go on the cruise.
It was, so actually I drove down to the US, I think it was Baltimore, and then, so that was 1 day by myself, and then 3 days at sea, 5 islands, 3 days back, 1 day back up. So it was actually a total of like 2 weeks on my own. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Now I have
a new bucket list. I have a new bucket list item.
I don't know. So I'm an introvert, but I don't know if I can spend that much time alone personally.
So I've done solo trips before at like all inclusives. So I've done it before, but not 2 weeks. But this sounds like a dream. With a book in hand?
You're both true introverts.
Yeah.
There's me in the middle where I'm like, a day or two? Sure. 2 weeks?
One other thing I did at the shop was every quarter I would do like a retreat, a prayer retreat. I would do 2-3 days on my own, right, every quarter, and I would reflect back on the quarter and I would plan for the next quarter. But it was on my own, and like I had it down to science. Like I knew exactly how far I had to get out of the city, because I made the mistake one time of being too close to the city, and then I got pulled back in. That was terrible. So it's like it was a lot of like trial and error to get to that stage where I actually knew, okay, this is where I need to be, and it helped me like. From a leadership perspective at the shop, I was working like a quarter ahead of everybody else. So, when the shop is in busy season, I'm already planning in the slower season. And so then I can set certain things up for them when they get to that point, right? So it was important for me to take that time and space to be able to do that as well.
Go a little bit off topic, but car karaoke, is that a thing for you? I'm thinking about that one long day drive. Like, what's the tune that we're bumping there?
I don't know. What did I do? I probably did a mix of like listening to, so I listened to sermons, of course, and music. But I also have this thing where like I'll just play a movie and kind of listen to the track as it goes. And
What movie?
like I was doing Marvel movies, I think. Probably.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just to hear it, and I don't know, just to kind of. I don't know what it is.
That's hilarious. I've never tried playing
Because it's like a full day drive from here to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
might try that. I'm a big Marvel person too. I might just try that because the new Avengers movie's coming out. I got.
Oh yes.
My wife is like, we are starting a marathon. I'm like, we have a kid. We are just starting no marathon. So that will be fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and as we're kind of going, I know you're in a new journey now with AA. So very quickly, tell us a little bit about AA, what that is, but I have some follow-up questions after that.
Of course you do.
Always.
Questions. So AA Canada, we are a national not-for-profit association that represents the aftermarket. So again, I mean, no dealerships, but everybody else. So we have members that you would probably recognize, like Canadian Tire, Mr. Transmission, and Fountain Tire, and like Napa. They are all our members, and so we do a lot of advocacy work in terms of representing, them, and yeah, that's the association that I'm with now, and even that whole thing kind of is interesting how it came about in the sense that, like, for me now, I know, like, in the role that I have, it is just so interesting how my past has kind of collided with this opportunity as well. I think you had mentioned, like, I was teaching as well before, right? So I was teaching at the Automotive Business School in Georgian College, and so bringing some of that into the space as well, tying industry with education, so it's been really, really fun to see this all play out.
I have a question first. So when you I guess sold your business, came back from your trip, why do you apply to another job?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Like, did you want to relax more, go on another cruise?
So cruising is a thing. So I was teaching part-time when I sold the shop. And then if you go back to me selling the shop, like, I really felt like God was calling me to sell the shop. So I knew that He had something for me on the other side. And for the year, I didn't start this role until January of this year. So for that whole year, I was really thinking, like, I'm going to, actually, selfishly, I was like, yeah, I'm going to just watch Netflix and eat bonbons. Like, that's what I do. And I just really took the time to do the things that I wanted to do. I finished up my MBA. I speak French. I was getting my French language back, right? Just that was all before this role. And now in this role, like, it is a national association, so I do speak more French in this role than I did, in many years. So in terms of applying for this role, I actually didn't look at it. When the person resigned, announced his resignation, I didn't look at the role because I thought, okay, it's an association. They're going to want somebody with association experience, And it wasn't until, so he resigned in March, and it wasn't until like May, June that the past president before him called me to say, like, hey, you should look at this role. Like, they're looking for somebody who's, entrepreneurial, who has experience in the automotive industry and all this stuff. So I figured, okay, at that point it was just, I'll just apply, see what happens, right? Yeah. And it sort of went that way. Every step that I cleared, it was like, let's just see okay, sure, And, one thing led to another, and then that's how I got the role. That's not how I got the role, but one thing led to another, and then I was confirmed and appointed into the role. The past president is still with me. Like, we're still doing this transition for a little bit too, so that's been helpful as well. I really was asking and praying for not just a job, but I wanted the impact. Right? Give me a position of influence, give me a position of impact. And so this, the role made sense in that it's a national role that I could affect industry change, at this level. So to me, it really is a good fit and a great opportunity.
I think that makes a lot of sense. They're just kind of stepping into something more that you were on the front lines, basically, kind of working with other people, understand, but now you get to be on the advocacy policy side, but taking all that knowledge you've had from 16 years of being a mechanic and running a shop, be like, now these are some of the changes, which is super cool. The other part, switching a little bit, I know I've heard you talk about this before, which is EV vehicles. I know where she was joking, and Agnes was like, I wonder what I drive. So Agnes drives an EV vehicle.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit of that, because I know we've had conversations a little bit about, are we ready for fully electric vehicles, or is it more hybrid, or should we, what are your thoughts and opinions on that from a consumer side, but also as someone who repairs vehicles, what are your thoughts on either of those ends?
So I drive an EV. I have my own opinions about EVs, my own personal biases and opinions about EVs. And the reason why I drive one is because I wanted my shop to get into it. So, if you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur at heart, right? Yeah. To me, however they want to design the vehicle and use for its propulsion system, to me, I'm going to figure out how to fix it, and off we go. Yeah. So it was really, for me, seeing that, okay, this is going to be here to stay. It's going to be a trend, and so how do I get into it? So we were actually one of the first repair shops in the area to have a charging station. We were one of the first to have a full EV. We had been working on hybrid vehicles for a long time as well. And the EVs are just sort of the next phase in that. And whatever other way they decide they want to change up how to, design these cars, we're going to figure it out anyway. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, but if you're a technician too, I mean, you're just wired to solve a problem anyway. Right. So in terms of the EVs, it's here to stay in the sense that the government is pushing a lot of this as well. When it comes to repairing them, to me, the biggest piece is the access to information, and this is something that AIA Canada advocates for. It's this idea that, as a technician, I need to have the right information. I need to have access to that in order to repair these things properly, and that you as a consumer should have the choice of where you want to go. So it's a big, the right to repair movement is a big, it's not just in automotive, it's in a lot of consumer electronics, right? A lot of that right to repair conversation is happening there too. And from the automotive side, it is about the choice, it's about affordability and all that. So that is something that we cover at the association as well.
We were just talking about the whole infrastructure around EV though, and my worst nightmare is, with 40 clicks left, you drive into a charging station and you realize that those stations are not working, which is actually pretty typical right now. Really? So I'm like, or you wait 90 minutes for supposedly for charging stations. Now it's 2 stations that's working. And then now all these cars are just waiting for those 2 stations. Yeah. So there is an infrastructure problem around charging.
Yes. There's an infrastructure issue, and it's almost but which comes first, right? Chicken or the egg? Do you sell this? And then, so I think we're going through that shift. And what I will also say is you have the infrastructure side, and then again, but from my own lens, we have the repair and maintenance side, right? Where if I don't have access to the information, how could I possibly repair all these things and keep this whole thing sustainable, right? And we definitely have a lot of different challenges there. There's also the education piece for the consumer side. A lot of people think that EVs are no maintenance, and it's no, there's a lot of maintenance on them still. So teaching them awareness of that, and there's a whole ecosystem that revolves around.
Well, are you excited or are you afraid of those 40,000 some odd Chinese EV coming through?
I think it's great. To me, more cars for me to fix. You know what I mean? To me, it's a good thing from the repair side. Why wouldn't we want it? I think that the legacy manufacturers are probably really challenged with it, and I think that's maybe the first of almost like, the signal of this shift, right? For me, though, I've been overseas many times, and I think if you've traveled anywhere else, you can see the opportunities and the magnitude of offerings of EVs, So to me, that's one piece. But yeah, I think in general, like, it's good news, more for us to fix, and even more so a reason that we need to have access to the information. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that not just that we have access, that the consumers have the choice as well. The last piece I'll say about this whole information access is a lot of people don't realize, like, even the colleges and high schools, like, even the education system doesn't have access to this information. So the schools that are responsible for producing the apprentices into our system also don't have access to information. Therefore, when we talk about right to repair, it's not just that. You have a whole labor shortage in skilled trades.
Yes.
And this is like compounding the issue. Right, so there's lots of moving pieces for sure.
I never even thought about that like in school, because I have friends who was in the mechanic shop and stuff like that. But you're right, like they're just probably fixing like your regular gas engine cars.
Yeah, and there will come a point in time, like I have a red seal, right, 310, and it is wild to me that there may come a time where I can't fix my own car because I don't have the information, not because I'm not skilled to do it. Does that make sense?
That's crazy.
So why would I? But now I got to pay another 310. It's like, can you imagine asking an electrician, telling the electrician, no, sorry, you can't do the wires in your own home. You got to hire somebody else. Like, it doesn't work, right? So those are the things that we're walking through now.
That's interesting.
Is it part, and this might be controversial, so I don't know if we want to put it on, but is it part of the game that they keep the information from you, so you have to continuously pay to upgrade? Almost like pay the system to upgrade your skill set to be able to do these type of things over time?
So, I mean, if I was the man, this is the thing is that I don't envy the position of the manufacturers. They deal with a lot of things. So the fact that they produce the vehicle, right? First of all, there's a very sort of black and white thing, which is, if I was a shareholder in one of these manufacturers, I don't particularly care how old or how reliable, like how long-term wise these cars are. I care about the market share and the new car sales and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So manufacturers are motivated by different things. So when they produce you a maintenance schedule, first of all, if you're going to keep a car long-term, like beyond the warranty period, you cannot go by the maintenance schedule. The maintenance schedule is to the warranty period. So knowing and recognizing and appreciating that from the manufacturers, like when it comes to repair information, they have many reasons why they might want to keep it in-house. There's certainly the benefit of, then they restrict the consumers back to their network, right? The parts are back to their network. So there's a lot of sort of that piece. And when we get outside into the rural places where you don't have a dealership nearby, it becomes a really big problem. Here we are blessed in Toronto area that there's just some all around, right? So there's that piece. But then the other piece I think about from the manufacturer's point of view is, they sold you, for example, a Toyota, right? Now, if the person doesn't repair it properly, and something happens, it is more seen as a knock on the brand Toyota than it is on
the mechanic.
So not that it's right or wrong, it happens. And so you have so many complexities in the issue itself, What I would like to think is that the manufacturers, they'll say oftentimes that, it's, vehicle security, and they'll come up with a few reasons as to why, and sure, but then I look at different countries in the world and how have they been able to solve it, and why is it that we are still held back? So that's sort of how we counter with that too.
So that's more a North American thing?
It is certainly, I don't know if it's a more North American thing. They are more advanced in other places like Australia. So the right to repair movement in terms of vehicles is, you can see it advance further in places like Australia, places like the EU, and stuff. So again, there's a solution, right? I mean, again, we're entrepreneurs. There's a way. There's a solution. We just, what is it? What does it look like? How do we get there?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's interesting. It makes me wonder if I'm following the schedule or if I need to do more repairs on my car now.
If you want to keep it long term.
Yeah, I mean, I do. Man. Because I think it's easier that way, right? So we don't have to kind of go through different vehicles. Because I find buying a new vehicle, it's stressful. Look into it. Is it, forget the payments, all that, but it's like, does it have the right feature sets? Is it what I want? Is it this? Is it that? Like, it's a lot, and I find, like, we just went through, wife and I are kind of going through a process to get a second vehicle.
And it's also the affordability piece. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like the cost of a vehicle now is like it's a lot, right? The cost of living is a lot. So, you know, to me, you always come out ahead if you routinely maintain the vehicle and you hold it, right, for a long period of time. And like a lot of people, so when at Auto Niche, we would tell our customers, you know, budget like $100, $120 a month. Just set that aside as your maintenance repair, even if you have a new vehicle, because even in a new vehicle, you're going to need another set of tires. You're going to need, you know, a fluid flush at some point. You're going to need an alignment. So you're going to need different things. And then once the payments are done, you know, you still keep that habit of that ballpark number. And at the end of it, you know, the thing is, when you first have a new car, you already prepaid all of that stuff in the cost of the car, right? Once you're done all the payments, you know, it really is just the maintenance and repair side of things. So
that's a good way to put it. $120 a month. I never thought about it that way.
No, and I don't think mechanics educate us that way either.
I like my mechanic. I will say he has been helping me. But yeah, the ones before him, I think, like the one I have now, which I like. Usually, I find the typical experience like you drop off your car, they're like, yeah, go away, shoot, let me work on it. My guy's like, you want to chit chat? You want something to drink? I'll walk you through everything. I'm like, cool, let's do it. And I literally hang out with him for like sometimes an hour, sometimes 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
We're just talking. Yeah, my wife doesn't love it,
That
but
would be, as an introvert technician, that would be my nightmare. But.
yeah, and he was like, he's probably an extrovert. He's like, friend?
Yeah.
Come.
Yeah,
so
but I do think there's something to be said about the transparency side of things, right? And I think it's more that.
Yeah, it was just knowing exactly what he was working on. And if I see something, I can be like, hey, this feels off. What is this? And he'll tell me, and it's great because, you know, he's not telling me in a way where he's like, why are you asking? Do you not trust me? And he understands, like, I'm curious and asking questions. So I found that, to be honest, that's probably one of the reasons why I've stayed with him, even though he's like 40 minutes from my house.
Yeah,
But I think it's a big deal. Like, you know, finding the worst part about going to a random mechanic shop is, are they gouging you, right? Oh, am I changing my brake, but my brake still have 30%, but is 30% enough or not enough? As a driver, I don't know any different. Maybe 30% is like red zone, you know, flashing red light, right? I don't know if 30 is enough. But but when you don't have someone that's trusting, that you can trust, then you're like, then you're second guessing is 30. But if I have someone that's trusting and they're like, 30% is not good, let's give it a switch. And I'm like, okay. So I think it's so tough to find that relationship that you're comfortable with. That's just like anything else, right?
Yeah, when you meet somebody though, you have that sort of what's that sense, like that you can build a rapport with them, that you trust them. So one example I always give is, you know, when I used to have the shop, people would tell me, you know, I wish I knew more about my car and blah, 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 you know, so that I had less this feeling. And I'm like, I don't know if that would actually help you. Like, you should understand more about your car, period, because you're responsible for like hundreds of horsepower, right, in this thing. And, you know, I think it does come with the sense of responsibility that we drive the vehicles. And I said, so do you guys have pets? No? Okay, so for all my other people with pets out there. I feel the same way when I take my dog to the vet, right? Where I'm just like, I don't know, the dog like looks the same way, right?
Yes.
It reacts the same way after all the blood tests, all the whatever, like it's the same dog, right?
Yeah.
Still happy, still whatever. And I don't know, do we need all the blood tests? Do we need all this thing? And for me, it's that rapport with the vet to say, you know, okay, and explain it to me, and do you communicate with me, and blah, blah, blah. I don't need to know all the inner workings of like, you know, the dog to have that level of comfort. It's kind of the same vibe, same feeling, you know, and same as financial advisors, you know, all that stuff. I don't need to know the nitty gritty, but can you explain it to me? Can you spend the time with me? Will you be transparent with like that kind of vibe?
Yeah.
And at our shop, we, you know, as an entrepreneur, when you start a business, like the area that I was in, by the way, in Markham is like a crazy zoo. We had within the immediate vicinity, I had over 100 repair shops, mechanical repair shops. 100, I stopped counting at 100 because every building was condo units of repair shops, you know, and until you see it and you're in it, you just can't picture it. You know, I would be so jealous of talking with other shop owners that had their own piece of land, like, you know, in some other, not the GTA, right? And for me, when I opened the place, I didn't want to open like just another 101th, the first like repair shop, right? So it really was about figuring out, okay, what does the market need? What is missing, right? And a lot of it was this whole communication piece. You know, we have really, really good technicians, a lot of really good technicians. And the truth is that if they cannot communicate with the customer, you're not going to think that they were trustworthy, which is so sad because they did exactly what they were supposed to do, to the T. So the communications piece is a totally separate thing, right? So that's in part what drove me to, don't mind the pun, drove me to open up the shop, right? Is to focus more on the communication side and the customer service side.
So what I'm curious, when I saw your name on the guest list, was like, a lot of us say that we play in a male-dominant industry, right? And sure, like, we'll find a way around it. But, like, you're really in a male-dominant industry. Like, there's like, oh, I can't sit in the boardroom table because everyone else is an exec versus here's like physically, mentally, the surrounding, everything scream male dominance. Like, I see you're not much taller than me. Like, how do you survive in that world? And what, I understand the story around your dad, but like the courage to get into that world, knowing the world that you are trying to create, you are an exception.
So I've been asked that question a lot. And I feel like we're wired, so it's a mindset thing, I'll tell you this. First and foremost, for me, it was a mindset thing. Obviously, I was aware that, there's a lot of guys there, and at the same time, for me, there's a few things. My parents, so I do credit a lot to them. My parents, when I was younger, they did not really raise me with that kind of language at home of female and male, like, that type of thing. I'm an only child as well. And so, for example, if they signed me up for whatever and I was, one of the few girls in the room, they honestly would not even comment about the fact that I was the only girl in the room. It's not like, sometimes like what I hear now in terms of the language when we talk to the kids, it's like, oh, girl power and girls only this and boys this, and like it's so ingrained in the vocabulary, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just my lived experience. For my parents, like, they didn't mention it, didn't talk about it, and so for me, when I walk in the room, it's like, it's normal, I'm supposed to be here. It wasn't a thing, you know what I mean? The other thing I'll say is that, like, if I was to look for a difference, I could find a difference in almost anything, right? So even if I was in a room full of women at a boardroom, whatever made me different visibly, it would stand out, whether I was a visible minority or not, that kind of thing. So to me, very early on, I was looking for I focused on the things that made me common with them. So when I went to trade school, I was level 1, I was like one of 3 females in a class of 40. By the time I hit second and third level, I was the only female in, I don't know how many guys. And for me, I really focused on the fact that I was there to learn, and so were they. And it was really interesting talking with them because the guys, like, there's a stereotype, okay? There's this thing where I think a lot of women feel like, oh, because I'm female, I'm going to get taken advantage of, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, the dishonest tech is going to take advantage of you no matter if you're a guy, a girl. In 10 seconds, they're going to know, right? It's that person. Do they have the integrity, right? And then the other thing is, like, we have so many stereotypes. It's so interesting to me. Like, for example, the guys, okay, sure, for us women, we have that saying of, like, they might take advantage of me because I'm a girl and I don't know anything, right? Well, to me, it's equally insane that the guys have the stereotype where just because you're a guy, you're expected to know about cars. And like, if I brought in a screwdriver, I'm probably going to expect that he's going to know, right? So you have this reverse bias.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because in trade school, I was talking to the guys and I'm just like, isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy that, like, people, naturally would, if they looked at me and my spouse, that they would see, that they would think I'm the one who would know a bit more about childcare, child rearing, whatever, meanwhile, like, I'm also not a stereotypical like mom kind of thing either. But it was just really interesting to me. So I think I connected with them in trade school that way because I said flat out, like, isn't that nuts, you know? And they're like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? And then bonding with them over the fact that, you know, anytime in school where, you know, we were to do something, I was always in there. I was there to learn. That was my goal, you know? And I think when we focus on the common things, that's how we can get further ahead. And so when I sit, I'll tell you many times, I'm the only female in a training session, in a boardroom. I'm the only visible minority in whatever, you know, I'm probably the only like, you know, whatever zodiac sign and whatever type A thing. Like, you know, if you really want to boil down to it, we can find something, right? And I think it takes more effort to find out, to actually just remember, like, we have a lot in common. One example that I do with students when I speak with them is, do you remember when you were little, getting 2 images and okay, and then off the hop you're just asked, okay, find 5 things that are different, right? So what I do with these students is I'll put the 2 images up and I'm like, oh, tell me a bit about these images. And like right away they tell me what's different. You know, this cloud is here, the monkey's tail is this, like whatever. And I'm like, you know, it's so interesting because every single time my question is always, tell me about these 2, and right away the answers are, what's different? Whereas you could always tell me, oh, they're facing the same direction, they're driving in the same car, they're whatever, you know, but we are so naturally wired to look at the differences. And what I will say is that this is a long-winded part of this portion of your question, but it's so interesting to me, right? That it's important that we know the differences. Like if I'm a technician, I need to know. I need to know that I was supposed to get a 5-volt reference and I'm now getting a 3.2. Like I need to discern the differences, but it's knowing when that is the important thing and when knowing the common things are important. You know, when it comes to building relationships, we can get so much further ahead if we focus on what we have in common, you know. So to me, that's been a mindset thing from the start in this trade. So, you know, it's a tough journey to be an entrepreneur. It's a very tough journey too to be, you know, in a role like this, male dominated, that kind of thing. But it really is a matter of perspective, you know.
And it's kind of like almost, I don't know, it's not the same, but I'm almost looking at it like it's like half like optimistic versus pessimistic, half full or half empty. You're looking at the half full. You're kind of like, what's common? What can we do together? How do we work together? Like very collaborative, where it's like if you focus on the negative, you're naturally going to go down that path. So by focusing on it, you know, it got you further. It allowed you to create relationships and partnerships. So I think that in itself, I mean, and even, you know, what you were saying with your parents and the way that they kind of, you know, you're a person. It doesn't matter what color you are, who you are. You're a person. Let's start there first and foremost. I think that's something that's important too. I think people.
So yeah, my parents, they also never really made it a thing that I was the only Chinese person or visible, because I grew up also in a place where, you know, in school I went to a Francophone school, and I was probably one of 3 minorities. Right? They never said anything. My parents were the traditional Asian parents that expected I get 100% in everything I do. Doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter what gender, right? No matter what. So I always say that, you know, my parents are great because they instilled that in me. But like, you know, I more than paid for my share of counseling sessions as I got older. But they had that level of expectation, and they didn't make it a thing. That to me, that was you know, no reason for me to whatever, not do well and all that stuff. So that was another piece too. I think too, when I think about the gender roles and stuff like that, you know, a lot of times women will say, oh, you know, oh, they're looking at me, right? They're staring at me, this kind of thing. And for me, my perspective is, this is great. They should, you know, the more they see me, the more they experience me, the more, yeah, if I'm on the shop floor, that kind of thing, the more they interact with me, the more normal this is all going to be, you know? So to me, it's, again, a matter of perspective, and I don't take it any which way, because really, to your point, a lot of times people will give me the feedback that, oh, like I don't look like a technician, right? And when they say that, it tells me more about their worldview than it tells me about me. You know, when they say something like that, oh, okay, now I know and understand, okay, well, they had the perspective that a technician looks a certain way, functions a certain way, whatever, and it really has nothing to do with me, more so their perspective, right? And again, the more they can experience me, the more they will see that this is normal to them.
I love it. You're definitely the right leader for AIA.
I raised 2 boys, right? And again, they're much older now, but I remember the day when, like, to them, I'd always been fixing cars. I'd always have a repair shop. In their minds, a female technician was like normal because this is the world that they knew. It wasn't until they got to like, and then their teachers found out or their peers found out that it was like, it was a thing. But I mean, all through when they were little, this is, female technician is normal. Yeah, that's their world, right? That's their perspective. So yeah, I didn't get my cool points until much later as their mom.
Probably when they were like, if I don't know, are they into cars as well or no?
So my younger one's more into cars, and so, but I mean, like when they were young. So at my shop, any staff who had children, as soon as they turned 10, they would come into the shop with us, and they would do the staff members' tire change, right, oil change, and that kind of. So we were getting their kids into. And for me, it's more of a life skill. It's not like I did it with my kids because I thought they were going to be techs, but like, listen, now I have somebody else to do my tire changes. So yeah, so they grew up with that. Definitely, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, honestly, it's a skill set I need to learn.
We were just talking about that at lunch today about how kids nowadays need to do some hard labor. We were just talking about it.
Spoken like a true Asian.
That's what we were saying. We're like, I guess, like to that point too, right? Like you're like teaching the tough love and all that which we got. I feel like nowadays it's
we're soft as parents.
We're saying that, and I think just that like the kids are growing up in different generations, right? Like I think growing up in our generation, it was still like it was a tougher time. Like, there was still a lot going on. Like I don't think there was we were multicultural as a city. I don't think it's the same as today. So there's still certain things, but being taught that you're one of them and all that. I think that was important because I don't know. I never got that teaching, and I don't know if you did, but you kind of start losing yourself as an identity because you're like, hey, if I'm not one of them, who am I? But being taught you're one of them, now you're like, I belong. And that changes the whole conversation immediately.
Yeah, and I don't think I ever, I knew who I was, right? I know at the end of the day who I am. And whatever situation you put me in, it doesn't change who I am. And we can relate to each other on different things. And I think back to your talk about building rapport and collaboration, right? That's what it is. It's not that we make everybody the same. It's that what do we have in common and how do we work on these things together? One thing I love about the cars, I tell the students all the time that, and listen, identity is important. How you identify, and all this stuff is important. And when it comes to fixing a car, the car doesn't care. Like when it comes to skilled trades, this car, it needs to be diagnosed, it needs to be fixed. The car doesn't care what you identify as. It doesn't care what socioeconomic status you have. It doesn't care how much you have in the bank. It just needs to be fixed. So in that lens, really, to be a good skilled tradesperson, you need to develop your skill. That's first and foremost the focus. How can I get myself on the cars more? How can I learn more? How can I better my skills? And again, it doesn't matter. Everything else is just sort of, not that it's not important in the moment of fixing the car. That needs to take a back seat. Let's focus on this car. So there's a benefit to the skilled trades in that I feel like it's a very tactile thing. It's a very, you need to focus like that kind of thing. And I think for a lot of the students that I speak with, it gives them a reprieve from all the conversation and all the pressure that they feel like they need to have a label or identify something. Or, our generation, we had it a certain way. We had our challenges, and I think that the upcoming generation, like I see it too, that they do, my kids, right? I see that they have their own challenges, and so it just comes out differently.
I almost find social media has made it tougher for kids because there's so many comparisons. And like back then, it's like the only people you're comparing to is who you're seeing in the room. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Or you hear from your parents.
Yeah,
so and so's kid.
So and so's kid's always better.
Yeah, I know. But now it's like you look online and you're kind of like, what? How am I not that? It's almost tough for them because there's so much more out there. I'm curious because I know we're running out of time, but I'm curious what. Year 1 of Auto Niche, Emily, versus year 16. What was the biggest difference there? And what were some of the biggest learnings I guess you had over those 16 years of building a shop?
Year 1, in the initial stages, I honestly didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I thought that things had to look a certain way. I thought that I had to have a certain path and just how to build this business and all this stuff. And over time, I've always had business coaches. And so I learned a lot about the business side of things. So even just the KPIs and numbers, like the actual operations side of things. And I think as a leader too, you know, I said in my farewell post when I sold the shop that like I'm very blessed to have had the employees that I had. You know, even the ones that we didn't get along well with. For me, every single employee that I had shaped my leadership in some shape or form. And for me, like the growth in that is different. And now as I moved to this association, same thing, you know, like I just continue to grow and learn and lead better, right? I hope than what I did coming in. But year one, yeah, it was a lot of, I think a lot to the fact that, you know what, I started small, right? Started with a small team and sort of grew this over time. And I do think that there's a natural course of entrepreneurship that has to happen. If you don't go through that, you have a different perspective, a different, you know, thought. And so to me, I'm very thankful that I had that opportunity, for sure. Yeah.
Advice to younger self.
Advice to my younger self.
Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? It's hard to say because I will tell you 100% that it is only by my faith that I did it. If I naturally, you know, the fact that even I think, well, you know, I'm introverted, and the fact that I have now a platform where it's an extroverted role, like that to me is a faith thing. There's no other way for me to explain it. So it naturally, you know, would I have done it again? Probably not. I probably would have never even wanted to. Like I told you, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur at all. Zero. No interest, you know? And so having said that, I'm also of the mind that, you know, people ask questions like, oh, you know, yeah, would you do it again? You know, what would you have changed? And I'm thinking, if I changed anything, I would not be the person I am today. So, you know, to me, there's value in all of that journey, the highs and the lows, right? And what I will say for, you know, aspiring entrepreneurs, because I talk to a lot of them as well, is like, yeah, yes, it's tough. Can't say it any nicer than that. And it's a mindset thing, you know. Yeah. I will say after the 16 years, having gone through some of that is, you know, I remember the day when I had less than $1 to my name, right? And then I remember the day when Autoniche was not even, it was just an idea. Having gone through the experience of creating something, coming through that monetary challenge, like coming through all these, you just get to a point where you're like, yep, stuff is gonna happen and I'm gonna figure it out because I've proven it to myself that I could do it, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end, so we're going to do some rapid fire. This was not in the prep notes.
I know, you sent me a whole list.
This was not in the prep notes. These are more fun, casual stuff, I think, more kind of relaxed. Just first get to know you a little bit. So, rice or noodle?
Okay, I'm totally a noodle person.
We don't have a single rice person.
No, not
okay.
yet.
You know those Chinese dinners where like they give you the rice and noodle at the end?
Yeah.
Right, the big
But
set meals?
That's unfair because they give you ifu noodles and those are the best.
They are the best.
Yeah, so that's unfair because they don't give you like regular noodles.
Okay, but then they give you the regular rice. Like,
Rice is just rice.
I don't know. Yeah, noodles.
Noodles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
Why, are
looking
you a
for
rice
rice.
person?
I love rice, yes.
Oh, but do you love the rice or do you like the sauce with the rice? Because nobody, I don't think, has ever told me that they like white rice.
I could eat white rice. So, okay.
My nephew loves white
Just white
rice.
rice.
Maybe this is
Yeah. I
me.
don't know if I could do
Like the growing up broke meal is white rice with a fried egg and soy sauce.
Yes.
Oh,
Soy sauce.
that is
Right,
actually.
like that's your broke meal.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I grew
that's
up
true.
eating that, so
That's
that's
true.
my comfort. It's white rice and a fried egg and some soy sauce.
That is true. That is
Yes,
true.
okay, I can see that.
That's what it is.
And then when you have a couple of bucks, you can throw in some luncheon meat.
Yeah.
Luncheon meat spam. Or the canned. I don't know if this. It was the canned. Okay, I'm gonna say in Chinese. I don't think Daoxi Lang Yu. It's like the.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's like you get a can. It was like a
Yeah.
buck, and you open that. That's like your luxury meal.
By the way, I had that many years later when I was not as broke
not
as,
as good,
as
eh?
we were. It's so salty.
That's why you need the white.
That's why the white rice is so important.
Totally, but like, man, how did I get through this? Like,
I had it. I think a couple years ago, and because my wife was doing it, like, let's try it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling her about all my memories, and she's eating. She's like, it's not what you described. I was like, it's everything I remember it being.
Yes.
Now I have another question. What's your favorite Marvel movie?
That is hilarious.
That's the one you're playing in the car.
This
and
or
you're-
this. This
so,
or this.
for whatever reason, like the soundtrack will be, is it Age of Ultron? Is
Oh,
one?
that's an
Oh.
interesting one.
Because the voices are really interesting.
Oh, so you're not even walking. This is
I'm
just
not
Because
your
walking.
you're driving, right?
Right.
That's her thing.
Yeah, come on.
No, let me watch.
No
Okay,
comment.
Yeah.
They're coming
So
down
it's
on
a-
those like
it's the
distracted driving charges
Yeah,
lately.
don't tell me that. What's
Yeah.
your favorite cruise?
Oh, okay.
My favorite
We can
cruise?
go down that path.
Oh man, okay. My favorite cruise is probably, besides the solo cruise where I talked to nobody, which was glorious, by the way. We did Italy recently,
Oh,
so
nice.
that was nice. And I think in part that was a crash course, like Europe trip for my kids.
So, what are, I guess, as like I said, we're shopping for a new car. What are some recommended car brands or cars that you're like is good for
Reliability.
some reliability?
I think like young
comfort,
family,
reliability.
good price point.
Yeah, because you can't haggle anymore.
Yeah,
Used to be able to
but
haggle.
good mechanics too. Like
No, I'm loyal. I can't.
Oh,
Okay, mechanics, what I will say is if you're looking for a new mechanic, try them for something small. Try them for an oil change, try them for a tire change, right?
but
and
isn't
if they
that like
do,
like their bread and butter? They have to be good at that, no? Like aren't they all good at that? I'm just saying. Like, do you have a shop if you're not good at something so
you're
basic?
not necessarily there for if they're good at changing the oil. You're there for the experience of how they treat
Okay.
you, how they treat your car, right? That kind of thing. And we always told our customers, you know what? If you can trust us with the small things, you can trust us with the big things, right?
Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks
It's
for
been
having me on.
really, really good to learn more about you, the different things, the different nuances. Autoniche, 16-year. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And like I said, learning that you speak French is great for mentoring because we'll definitely be
Still
calling
learning.
you up.
Still learning.
I'm sure it's better than mine because I can only say 2 things. But really, thank you for taking the time. This is great. I think we got to learn a lot. I think Agnes and I got to learn a lot more about mechanics, transparency, cars, and just the automotive space, which was new for us. And like I said, for most of our guests, it's not in this space. So it's such an interesting world to learn more about and see how it functions and how it works.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the At the Root podcast. We're super excited, and please like and subscribe.
And stay tuned for the next episode.